Ladies and gentle beings, welcome to Memes Testing, where I play games wrong and see if they're still completable. Today I'll be exposing myself to the wastelands of Fallout 4 as we see if we can beat the game with only our wedding ring equipped. And to spice things up, we won't be using any consumables either. As always, to start we'll be making our character, and this time I've opted for the strongest person with the least air resistance possible, as we're going to be moving at the speed of sound through the tutorial, and we talk to Vault Tech and assign our stats as such. The main things we're going to need are endurance and agility, as we won't be doing much outside of running and getting shot, so I figured I'd specialise. The world ends and we become a Freezy Pop, and our partner gets blown through the chest for the 44, and we become a single parent for now. Oh, no, never mind. That's a load off my mind. Children require a lot of attention, and I don't think I'm qualified. Anyway, we defrost and undress into our endgame equipment. As in, nothing. All we have is this ring, which does, well, what I'm best at. Absolutely nothing. The vault is easily traversed, as we only have rad roaches to deal with, and they go down even to a single punch at 1 strength. But I do avoid picking up any weapons, as they auto-equip during the tutorial section. Now the real headache begins, as Fallout 4 has multiple different ways to progress the game, and 4 different factions that can be aligned with. This is extremely important, as most of the options will have us deal with the Brotherhood in some way, or be stuck in a turret section if we help them, and that's where our choice comes in. For the first time ever, I'm happy the Minutemen exist. This run is going to have 6 real issues we're going to deal with. 1. Getting to Diamond City and helping Nick. 2. Helping settlements and liberating the castle. 3. Defeating Kellogg. 4. Traversing the glowing sea. 5. Reaching the Institute. And 6. Defeating the Institute. This is all alongside staying alive and trying to level up. Speaking of being alive, before we do anything, we will make our way down to Sanctuary to unlock it as a settlement. We can do the most important thing to the Minutemen, base management. This will allow us to scrap just about everything my attention span allows, and stack up as many posts as possible to get a few levels before we start the game. With this, we'll pick up Idiot Savant, Blitz, and Iron Fist to be our main perks, with a point put into Solar Powered and Aqua Girl for tools that will help us later. Now you may have wondered why I don't just level cap now, using this beautiful workaround. Well, 1, there's no realistic level cap, and 2, the game starts to rubber band to your level the higher you get. This means harder variants of the same enemies will spawn, and in that case, we need to find a sweet spot of levels. Speaking of enemies that are too high level for this place, the Deathclaw after the Museum of Freedom will be our first real challenge for the game. After blitzing through the museum, we'll ignore the power armor, and we're faced with about 10 to 15 raiders. Since we struggled with a one-on-one just a few seconds ago, we opt to hide in the corner until Preston kills them. And weirdly enough, it looks like there's a secondary trigger for the Deathclaw to spawn. I did not know about this. Usually, the Deathclaw will spawn once you get further up the street, but it looks like after some time, it shows up anyway and cleans up house for us. Alright, with everything cleaned up, it's just me and the Deathclaw. Time for that 1v1 that we excel at. Oh, yeah. Right, we're useless. Well, back to hiding, and Preston can go do this for us. For this, I've decided that we cannot choose to bring companions along with us, but things like environmental hazard and forced companions for certain quests are allowed, as the game is not completable otherwise. Many Bethesda-related close calls later, and we have defeated the Deathclaw, and the Minutemen now reside in Sanctuary, which has been prepped with amenities and as many gateposts as they can shake a stick at.
I used to like living here. I lived here.
With this, we unlock a new method of leveling up, the ever-loved Settlement Radiant quests. We need 8 settlements under our control to beat the game with the Minutemen, So this would be done in the background for XP and to progress this along. Now we're along to one of the secret tools I mentioned earlier. Aqua Girl, or Boy, is an overlooked perk for most people, as removing the radiation from pools of water is not really a needed feature for most, as between armor and consumables, the reduction to this is negligible at best, and most people will never choose to get around this way. But there is a secret upside to this that many people do not consider. The AI in this game does not traverse water in any realistic way. Even the mire lurks can be foiled by a few well-placed inches. So with this path we move safely down to a much higher level area to unlock a few fast travel points and to get the unarmed bobblehead, just to give us that slight edge in combat. With this we can swim back up above the commons and make a beeline for the Park Street station to save Nick. This is not usually an issue, but with no real way to gain health outside of sleeping, and dozens of moves in our way, it took a little finesse and a lot of cheese to get through here. Like hit and run tactics, and closing a door to nap became common throughout this area, as some of the tougher enemies took multiple passes to take down. But eventually we were able to make it to Nick, and with a little bit of cannibalism we were able to take down Skinny Malone and proceed to Diamond City. Here we learn of Kellogg, the man who adopted our baby, and the trail to go thank him for this. We can go meet him at Fort Hagen, but the synths in this area give us a less than stellar welcome, so we'll have to come back once we're a higher level. Next we'll be leveling through the settlement quest to make it to 15-ish, and once we have 7 settlements, it's time to use our previously obtained fast travel point to instant transmission our way directly to the castle as soon as Preston mentions it. The only problem is this place is overrun, and bare fists do as much to mirelurks as a squeeze of lemon does to making them appetizing. But this is where our environmental help comes in. As we have no direct control over Preston and his gang, we mainly stay back and let them tank things out while picking off the hatchlings. We can one-shot those for a dribble of experience. This is where I found out that mirelurks just hate deep water, so I spent a good chunk of the fight just getting my tootsies wet, while the mirelurks were gunned down by the guys. But the main issue does come when the queen gets here. Anyone with a pistol can take down a dozen mirelurks with enough running around, but the queen can spawn enemies and has a ranged attack that two-shots us, so we're gonna have to keep out of sight for this one. This is where the game's core principle comes in to save the day: essential NPCs. And we have one right here, Preston. To avoid bricking the game, Bethesda decided that some NPCs would be immortal, and would just be downed instead of dying like the others. Since the Minutemen ending must always be available as the default way to end the game, you cannot lock yourself out of it in any way. Unlike the other 3, this means that Preston cannot die, and believe me, he wishes he could, as I left him for about 16 in-game hours fighting this beast, before I heroically saved him, at the last moment of course. And with this we have 8 settlements, including the castle, so we're mostly done for the Minuteman ending. So let's progress back to Kellogg, and 10 levels later, and oh, wait, hang on. Yeah, no, we're still made of paper. Hang on. 16 total levels later, and we make it past the first 2 synths in the building. Due to how I've built this character, we cannot easily reach the skill point to get the tiniest amount of energy weapon resistance, as it's perception based for some reason. But we have maxed out Life Giver, and this does allow us to add one more method of healing to our arsenal. First we had beds and bodies, now we have the time chair. Behold, due to our slowly regenerating health, we can just sit down while out of combat and wait an hour. Boom, full health. With chairs being way more common than beds, we have a semi-reliable option for healing, if there is a chair, and we're out of combat. It's more than we had. With this, we're able to muscle our way down to the big man himself, but he is one of the stronger fights in the game. However, with some quick thinking and ignoring his peaceful attempts to talk to us, we quickly dispatch Synth 1 and then 2 before he can get in much damage. This gives us our preferred fighting option of 1v1. This is due to the second level perk from Iron Fist, as it gives us a chance to disarm our opponent when punching them. Not only does this look cool, but it gives us the advantage, as most human-sized NPCs have garbage strength stats, and this becomes a battle of 1,000 cuts. If he didn't just go invisible and pick up his gun. However, one disappearing act later on our part, and we actually managed to run fast enough away so that we can go sleep in a bed. At this point, we begin to play fetch with Kellogg as we punch his gun out of his hand and pick it up. We make sure to get in a little bit of damage and then close the door, at which point he runs off to go and try and find another gun. We get a nap in for an hour and then repeat this until he brings us pretty much any gun he can find and then falls to the ground. Finally, he goes down and we can loot the cybernetics from him to take a trip down memory lane, but Maxon shows up to say hello, and I was going to fast travel to skip this, but this is the only mention of the Brotherhood in the whole run. Figured he can have his short time to say hello. We head to the memory den to tiptoe through the minds of a killer and learn that our son is in safe hands underground. Thanking these people will be a bit harder, but it is the right thing to do. But here comes the part I was dreading, the trek to Virgil in the glowing sea. Without any kind of armor, all we will have is the pitiful radiation resistance of the perk. Normally, your mitigation would be in the hundreds or up to 1,000 if you're using the hazmat suit, but we have access to a maximum of 40 from this perk. And unless we're going to be grinding until level 50, we only have 20. But this is where our final secret weapon comes in. Solar powered. Because this, at level 27, will slowly remove radiation while the sun is shining on us. Not a lot, but it will give us just enough time to run through the glowing sea. With this, we were able to make it down without too much issue, and without a single rad X or rad away. Now that the dreaded mission of walking has been completed, Jolly Green decides to tell us that we need to kill the Institute's most deadly weapon if we want to get inside. Oh. Anyway, off to find the deadly tin can, and the scariest thing of all appears. Bethesda's programming. On the way, we go to sup at the altar of XP, and accidentally despawn the world. I did leave this running for about 10 minutes, and all that happened was it crashed. After we respawned, we've decided that water no longer controls us, and we freely move over to Green Tech to find the Courser. At Green Tech, the run-up to the Courser was honestly harder than the fight itself, as we still have no defense outside of burst damage to keep things in a 1v1, but in the end it really does just turn to disarming our opponent over and over again until they've picked up all the nearby guns and given them to us.
Hold on to your butt.
And with that, we can enter the Institute. We learn that our boy is all grown up and no longer our problem, and leave. Really, we just leave. Unfortunately, he is a petulant old raisin, and with this rejection, he has decided to attack our castle with his glorified waffle irons. And just like before, I let the boys and the turrets I've placed soften them up. While this is happening, I decide to aggro the dot matrix printers of the pack, have them chase me down to the basement, where I disarm them, steal their guns, and punch them out. After this, we've fulfilled all the requirements for the final quest, the nuclear option. This is where we pay back our shriveled boy for lending us his toasters, and we scuttle on down the pipes and sneak into his inner sanctum. From here, Preston and the Minutemen can be put to excellent use, as Preston is still flagged as a needed NPC, so we can bait the combat and then sit down for a few hours. The fight will then auto-resolve. As soon as Preston is able to make it to this door here, he will tell us to end the lockdown. So we take the lift down and go give our boy a high five for a job well done. While he naps, we turn off his computer, safety first, and leave him to sleep. Now that the reactor is open, we can run down the hallway and blitz up to the platform in VATS while our grandchildren try and spot us. We sprint into the reactor and set us up the bomb to end this mess. And that was Fallout 4 with no armor, weapons, companions, or consumables. Overall, this was fun after the first 15 levels when we got just that little bit tankier, but I can't really recommend it. This only would be much more fun if we had a little bit of armor, or no armor if we had a better melee weapon, but both just make the majority of the game turn to molasses. If you're still here, I appreciate your time, and if you think it was well spent, a like or subscribe goes a long way to letting me know. If you have any suggestions for other challenges, let me know in the comments below, and I'll see you when we do the next thing.